Is it wise to say that couples who enter marriage seriously are more likely to make it than couples who enter marriage casually? Is it fair to say that? I have been thinking about this, but before I continue, I will read Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. My hope in this episode is that you will be transformed by the way you think, about marriage, or reminded of, what marriage is about if you already knew it. In 2020, during the pandemic, like most people, we were at home, watched a lot of TV. My husband and I found this on YouTube, and it was a conversation between Angela and Marcus. Angela has a YouTube channel called That Chick Angel. So there was Angela and Marcus, and they had their friends Kevin and Melissa. Kevin is a comedian. I think he goes by Kevin on stage. So you have Marcus, Angela as a couple, and you have Melissa and Kevin as another couple. So two couples having this conversation, just chatting. It was Angela and Marcus' wedding anniversary. I think it was 15 or 16 years in 2020. I can't remember. But they were, celebrating the, wedding anniversary and just talking about what they have learned over the years. So Marcus and Angela shared how when they got married as young adults, everybody in the community, parents, uncles, aunts, people at church, told them, oh, they heard over and over, marriage is serious. It's not going to be easy. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy. It's not for children. So Marcus and Angela entered marriage seriously with that in mind. And in this, episode, Marcus and Angela were laughing not at the advice they have received from, the elders in the community, but they were laughing at how they are actually having fun, how they prepared for the worst, but the marriage has actually been, fun and good and pleasant. And they were like, it's not easy, but we prepared for the worst, and it's actually not that bad. So you have this approach on one hand of entering a marriage seriously, and on the other hand, you have this other approach, right? We talk about in March, I think it was 2024 now. I was listening to a podcast, and James Sexton was one of it was a guest speaker, and he's a divorce lawyer. Apparently, he's very well known as a divorce lawyer in New York. And he was sharing how, in his practice, he has discovered something. And his discovery is that many couples that he deals with didn't enter marriage seriously, that they were casual about the idea of marriage. They were casual about this commitment. They thought it's supposed to be easy and just fun all the time. So when things got difficult and the person they married act differently than what they expected, many people just opt out. And so on the other hand, you have this approach of, entering marriage casually. Not just that, doing marriage casually, like it's supposed to be fun and just la la land all the time, and eventually they divorce. So you have these two approaches. One couple enters marriage like, okay, it will require me to die to serve this person. Like it's not about me. On the other hand, you have, another couple that it's all about them, about pleasing them. It's not serious. It's casual. They enter marriage casually, right? And it made me also think about my own, personal experience. I was married before this time. So, in my first marriage, I entered marriage very casually. I got married because I could get married. I had no clue how deep things will become and how difficult things will become. So, when there was no lust and all those feelings, you know, ran away, I was like, this is not what I signed up for, and eventually divorced. So proving James Sexton point, like I entered marriage casually and I ended up divorcing. Now with my husband, I remember the day of our wedding with my now husband. The evening of before the wedding, I took that time to really go, okay, tomorrow I'm getting married. Are we compatible, him and I? Do we have the same foundation? And I remember going through, taking an inventory of our conversations, him and I, right? Just thinking about looking for, is there any red flags? How am I feeling in my soul about this, about that? And I was just like, if there's any red flags, I'm calling this wedding off tomorrow. And so the second time, I was way more sober minded. I was way more serious, right? I was just like, I can't divorce again. This has to work. Not just it has to work, but I have to make sure that I understand what I'm getting into. Like, do I want to get married with him? Do I understand how, things can become challenging? He's a different person with different, upbringing and all that. And is God in this marriage? Like, it's God in it? And so just double checking again before I got married, things that I never considered the first time I got married, right? And so the result, are different. And not just that I entered marriage seriously, I knew that I have to stay serious like that. By serious, I mean intentional about, okay, this is not about me being pleased, being, yeah, it's not about me. If it's me, this is not going to work. Number one, we are a Christian couple, so it's about God first. It's about pleasing God with this person, doing God's will, doing it God's way. So that's the serious part. And don't give me wrong. Marriage is fun. It is very pleasant. Very, very pleasant. It's a good thing. It just requires both people to work at it, right? To be serious about doing the work, doing what it takes to make this marriage work, doing what it takes to keep the peace. I remember also listening to Gary Chapman on the Dear Future Wifey podcast. And Gary Chapman, who wrote the 5 love languages that we know about, he sold over 20 million copies worldwide. He was sharing on this podcast how to make his marriage work with his wife. They were struggling at the beginning of their marriage, and he thought, this is not she's not supposed to be my wife. He regretted everything that he the vows he had made. Things were just bad. I think it was the third year of the first or second year or third year of the marriage, and he was saying how he always told his wife, for him, he was like, I love you, honey. My life will be different without you. So he was giving her a verbal affirmation, and his wife didn't feel loved because she was always like, I don't feel helped by you. You don't help me. How can you say you love me, but you don't actually help me at home here with all the chores? And Gary Chapman, who is, I think, 86, he shared how to make it work, the to self part of his marriage, the work part was Gary Chapman, that we all know, who is like so popular when it comes to love language. He has been going home every day to his wife, doing the dishes, cleaning the floor, mopping and all that. And he said only 3 years ago, he hired a lady to come clean, the house. So all these years we have known or heard of Gary Chapman, five love languages. This man goes home, clean the dishes, mop the floor and all this. Most people at this point will be like, I'm too high and mighty for that, to the spouse. They will act like, who do you think you are that I should come here and do the dishes and mop the floor? But he said to make it work in his marriage, he does those things because his wife feels loved by him when he helps like that. Wow. I think we can learn so much from all these people. So you have this person taking his marriage seriously to the point of mopping the floor, although he's this Gary Chapman we heard about, right? And so it takes work. For some people, maybe your spouse don't want you, talking too much in social settings. That it's possible, maybe because the person says the wrong things at some point, and it's hard for you to just be at a social setting not saying anything because your spouse prefers you not to say anything, right? It's hard. But if you want to keep the peace and you want things to work, you might have to do those things, right? My husband, his love language of one of them is touch. I mean, I was just like, show me a man that his love language is not touch. Like, which one? So for him, he's like, you want me to hold his hands and just touch me, touch me, touch me all the time, right? Which is not my love language, but in the spirit of working for my marriage and doing the work, okay, that's what he likes. That's what makes him feel loved, right? So I do those things because it's not about me, it's about serving my spouse, right? And there are things he does for me that I like, right? And that's how I feel loved. And my husband is very much, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. But I'm just like, can you just take my car and go bring it to the car wash, and come back with a shiny, clean car? I will feel so much loved. And I do, right? It's like, okay, it's great that you say I love you, but having my car cleaned like that, right? I feel even more loved. And that's the work part. Like, it's not about me. It's not about you in your marriage. It's about serving the other person, right? And that's what keep peace in your marriage. That's why keep things smoothly going, because you serve one another and you take it seriously, right? If your spouse doesn't want you to be home at certain time because you're serious about your marriage, you're like, hey, it's 8:30, I better get home because my wife, or my husband doesn't want me to be home too late. It doesn't matter what people say about you. Oh, are you afraid of your husband? Are you afraid of your wife? It's not that. It's me here working at my marriage and keeping the peace, right? Making sure I do what it takes to maintain the peace in my marriage. And that's the seriousness of marriage. And again, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, but we have to put work in it, dying to serve. It's not about me. It's about serving my spouse, right? I hope this makes sense. And I hope this participates in the renewing of your mind when it comes to marriage. I was your host, Alomo. I hope to have you back next time. God bless you. Bye.